Hi folks, Merlin here, bringing you another Dungeons and Dragons adventure video. So I've had a bit of a week off as I had a friend visiting for lambing season on the farm, and I'm back now with some brand new content. So I'll be bringing you, hopefully in the next week, 2 issues of Dungeons and Dragons. Today we're going to take a look at issue 20, and then hopefully I should be getting issue 21 done fairly soon after this. So what do we get with issue 20? Well, we learn all about the thrills, chills and the kills of a horror encounter. We have, of course, a brand new mission. We surprise our enemies. We have the background on criminals and spies and the powers of potions. Plus we look at one of Faerun's churches of the dead. Issue 20 then came with a fantastic little gift, and we've got our second oversized dice. This time a lovely D10 in blue and silver. I mean, as I mentioned in my unboxing video, if we had a full set just like this, I'd be very happy. They're quite nice and pleasing to look at. And of course we get a little felt bag for storage as well. So before we hop over the table, a big thank you to all my Patreon supporters and of course all my YouTube subscribers as well. Your continued support means a lot to me and it encourages me to create more content for you. There should hopefully be a lot of content coming very soon that is way overdue. Payday, I'm hoping to invest in a tablet. I found a nice cheap one at a local secondhand hardware store, and yeah, it's not too bad. I'm going to pick it up and I'll be able to start doing some solo playthroughs, which would be quite nice. I've been meaning to do it since January, but things have been getting in the way. But I should be back on schedule for that fairly soon. Hopefully by April, we should have at least one up and going for you. Speaking of up and going, I've just joined and started a brand new campaign at my local gaming store. Pretty fun, set in Neverwinter. And yeah, it's a very criminal sort of based game. We're sort of helping resistance fighting off against the overseer of Neverwinter. And yeah, I'm playing an elf cleric. And yeah, it's quite a nice mixed party. And so far we've had one little rescue mission, which did go kind of well. Although one of our guys decided to be a little too forward, went forward and got put straight down, and I had to run over and help him. But I'll do more on a catch-up video later on. So, as I said, big thank you to all my supporters, and don't forget to check all the links in the video description down below. And I think that's it. So let's head over to the table and look at issue 20. So here we are on the table with issue 20. We've got our beautiful blue and silver giant D10 there. We'll give that a roll in just a sec. And we've got another look there at our front cover. So yeah, some nice articles. We learn all about how to surprise the enemies and what benefits surprise does give us. We have the background of criminal and spy. We learn about potions. And also how a horror encounter could be played out. Yeah, pretty good issue. Some nice extra bits as well, just not mentioned on the front cover. But we'll cover those in just a sec. Right. Let's bring back in the dice tray and we'll give our D10 a little roll and see how good it is. Right, let's open up. So we've got our felt bag. We have the Dungeons & Dragons Adventurer logo on it in blue. Looks really nice, nice printing. I know the first one we had, it looked like it was starting to peel off. This one actually looks a lot better. And drawstrings just to pull the pouch closed. And here's our dice in question. So yeah, cast in blue with silver paint, picking out the recessed detailing. And yeah, it's just really nice and pleasing to the eye. One I would definitely like a full set of. So let's give her a roll. A 5. Pretty average, pretty medium there. Middle of the board, as they'd say. So yeah. As I've mentioned in several other videos, we are probably going to get a complete set of D10, not D10, a complete set of oversized dice in all different colours. I believe the next one is the D8 in green. Then after that, we don't know as of yet, but yeah. It'd be nice to have a full collection of oversized dice just for, you know, perhaps when you're facing off against a giant or a dragon, something really big and menacing. And we get, oh, a 1, not good. Well, that's it for this issue's freebies. Let's dive into the issue. So let's take a look at issue 20. So our full contents of the issue, we have Sage Advice, page Section A, page 17B, Environment, Falling and Suffocating. We have the DM, pages 17 and 20, Character Death and Running Horror Encounters. We have Spell Casting, all about potions, and we have a page for 2 pages for Combat, Surprise, and Controlling the Battlefield. We have Character Creation, Background for the Criminal and Spy class, background. We also have Lore on the Church of Kelemvor. Finally then, we have a brand new adventure, Drafting the Dead. So issue 20 comes with a oversized D10. Surprise everyone at the table. You roll with when you roll with this one. Keep it safe in the sleek little pouch. Pretty cool. We have a QR code for D&D Beyond. I've been using that quite a lot lately, creating characters and, you know, just picking up the rules. And then a reminder at the bottom for binders. Right, let's start with page 17 of Sage Advice, the overview. This is all about the environment and falling and suffocating. Combat is not the only threat in Dungeons & Dragons, as any character who has fallen from a great height or found themselves at the bottom of a bog will tell you. So yeah, there's multiple ways of dying in the Forgotten Realms, and falling and suffocating are just 2 of them. So we start with falling. Pretty simple. When you fall a distance, you will take fall damage. If you fall 10 feet or more, the further you fall, the more damage you'll take, but this is capped at 20d6. So if you fall 500 feet, you will take 1d6 damage for every 10 feet you fell. This is maximized, as I just said, at 20d6. For example, if Krantor fell off a roof that's 30 foot high, he would take 3d6 damage. But if Cleric Rezagar fell 1,000 feet off a cliff top by an angry dragon, she would only take the maximum of 20d6. Then we got a mention here of a spell that could help reduce the chances of people from falling, called Featherfall, which gives them the ability to become as light as a feather and drift back down to the ground safely. Next up then, we have Suffocating. So another unnatural way, or a rather natural way of going, is to suffocate to death. So whether it's a poison, fog, or even a muddy bog, you have a chance to breathe underwater for a number of minutes equal +1 to 1 plus its Constitution modifier to a minimum of 30 seconds or 3 rounds of combat. When you run out of breath, you start choking. Then you must start taking death saves before you are either pulled free or sadly succumb to being drowned. So we've got an example here. Our Dragonborn Barbarian Karkroth has a Constitution score of 15, giving him +2 modifier. So he can breathe for 3 minutes. So this is the 1 plus his Constitution modifier. If he uses up all his breath, he starts suffocating and has 2 rounds to reach air before he drops to 0 hit points. Once he drops 0, it begins to fail He begins failing death saves each round. If he isn't rescued 2 rounds after falling unconscious, he will sadly die on the 3rd. There is one magic potion that could be helpful in certain situations. This is the potion of water breathing. So helpful if you are doing an adventure quite close to the coast or even out on the open seas. Rather short article, but some really nice bits covered there. Moving on then, we have character death. So, page for the DM. The threat of death makes the game thrilling, but DMs need to balance their game so that the characters aren't at a consistent risk of being slaughtered. So, as a DM, it's your job to make the adventure both fun, challenging, and risky. So, if there's no chance of death, is it really a hard-fought adventure? We've had quite a few adventures where it's been pretty laid back, but even then it's had surprise events that have caused us to get involved one way or another. So there are quite a few points you can bear in mind for a character's death, how they die and their death indeed. When should a character die? It's your choice really as DM. You can, of course, talk to your character if a character is wanting his character to die in a memorable way. You can, of course, help them set this up. Make it fair. You don't want to be too overpowerful with it. You do want to give them the chance to get out of things. But, yeah, it's really, at the end of the day, up to you how to deal with challenge ratings and such. There's bringing them back alive. So this option will allow you to bring a character back to town where a local healer might be able to heal them. Then we have funeral services, so how they want to be sent off to the afterlife. And then we have a fitting tribute. So I do like the little bit at the end here. So if a new character is rolled up to replace them, could this be a family member of the departed, a child, a spouse, or even parent taking up the mantle? It could even be somebody taking on possession of their same weapon. And yeah, the weapon was renamed to honour the fallen. Another page for the DM then, we are looking at how to run a horror encounter. Pretty creepy looking guy there. So, from vampires, ancient crypts, a hag's creepy hut in the swamp, a good DM knows how to run a satisfying, scary encounter with the forces of evil. So, it's always good to have the odd scare encounter. Maybe a nice Halloween-themed one would be pretty cool. Firstly, you want to consider consenting with your players and getting their consent on the things you can include. So some people might have a dislike for gore or cannibalism, some might even have a fear of spiders, and some just don't like cruelty to animals or children in general there. So you want to consider hard limits, so these are things to avoid, and soft limits are things that you can do, but ideally off screen. Lastly, you want to agree on a phrase or signal that if you do go a bit too far, they can let you know and you can pull back and stop yourself from going over the edge there and causing them some discomfort. So it's a good idea to set the atmosphere, play in a darkened room with little light, music, sounds and scents, etc. Then we have a little bit here all about narrative techniques and how to build the suspense of an encounter. Jump scares are a good thing. It mentions here that perhaps the strange growling you've heard is actually just a friendly stray dog. So you've been scared for nothing, but that isn't just the only thing out there wanting to scare you. So yeah, really handy article for you DMs looking to add a little bit of extra scare to your games. Moving on, we got an article covering spellcasting and potions. Whether they heal your wounds, turn you invisible, potions are D&D's liquid magic. So yeah, Potions are a pretty common sight, especially your very common potions, such as Potion of Healing, Water Breathing. There are rare potions that can give you a temporary form of a dragon, which is pretty nice, but really hard to get hold of. Simple potions can be pretty easy to get hold of. Usually most towns will have a herbalist who can brew these up on demand. There are of course classes that can specialise in creating potions as well, especially druids, clerics and the like. And we've got a nice pictorial reference there of various different potions and potion ingredients. So here's some of the most common items. So as I've mentioned, we have the Potion of Healing, we have the Potion of Water Breathing, Potion of Invisibility, Potion of Vitality, Storm Giant Strength Brew, and Dragon's Majesty. So this is a really rare one that allows you to become a dragon for an hour. Right, moving on then, we have Surprise. So, nasty surprises are everywhere in the Forgotten Realms, but players can surprise their enemies too, whether it's through stealth or an ambush. So, when you are sneaking up on an enemy camp, you want to be really, well, stealthy and be able to spring an attack without them knowing you're in the vicinity. So the basics on being surprised: every battle begins with a DM determining surprise factor. They do this by comparing a dexterity stealth check of anyone who might be hiding against the passive wisdom perception score of each opponent. Ideally, a sneaky rogue who rolls a 13 for their check will successfully ambush a group of kobolds who only have a passive perception of 8. However, a beholder with its many eyes has a passive perception 22, so you're going to need a really high roll to avoid it. So, a creature that's surprised can't move, can't take items, including bonus action, can't take a reaction during your first turn of combat, and attacks against it will be hitting with advantage, plus you get a second attack following up. Pretty powerful things to implement in your combat. So the subtleties of surprise. Keynote for the first sentence, as written in the rule, the DM determines who might be surprised. So this is entirely possible for the DM to will it that nobody is actually surprised. And maybe he wants everyone to be surprised. It's a sudden surprise that everyone's turned up to attack them. There are 4 ways to gain a surprise, so either moving stealthily, setting an ambush, impairing your foe's senses, and being unpredictable. Continuing on then, let's take a look at Combat Page 8, Battlefield Control. You can turn the tide of an apparently hopeless fight by taking control of the battlefield, whether it's through taking advantage of your terrain or casting a well-chosen spell. So this is a game of strategy, and you want to consider every possible benefit and hindrance that can be for you. So when you are in a particular setting, you want to consider your bonuses. So for instance, if you're in a wood, you have most likely have plenty of trees for which to give you cover and even hide up in. On the other hand, you might be in a pretty open, craggy ground where you'll be at a disadvantage because there's not a lot of places to hide behind except that one big rock, which is big enough for one person. So, yeah, there's various different ways you can use the battlefield to your advantage. So you can either direct control, so this is controlling an individual person through a spell such as remove or manipulate an enemy with hold person, blindness or deafness to impair senses, and confusion allows you to pretty much force them to attack themselves. Finally, charm person or charm monster can stop them attacking you, and banishment, of course, will get rid of them entirely. We have terrain control, so you don't just use your environment, you can change it. So there's a way you can bring up a big barrier. So we have spike growth, for example, which creates thorns and spikes in the ground, causing your opponents to back away from you. There's stronger spells. So we got Grease, which causes your enemies to slip and fall. Darkness, which gives them blind. And Tangle and Web, both restrain. Then even more powerful spells again. We have Wall of Fire and Wall of Ice, giving you a nice barrier between you and your opponent. Finally, you can use Trickery, so you can cast Illusions, Disguise. You can even set up hallucinatory terrain and a phantasmal killer as well. Moving on to our character creation, we got a background and we're looking at the criminal and spy background. So, spin shadows and subterfuge with D&D's most nefarious background. So, pretty fun backgrounds, and actually reading this gave me a few ideas for a character that I might use in a future event. But basically these are the criminals, whether by choice or by family. But it's not restricted just to the charlatans. You could be a criminal or spy if you are a monk, a fighter, even a barbarian. Even clerics and paladins might have worked as holy inquisitors, which is where I got my idea from, rooting out corruption in cities or churches or hunting down demons and devils. Tips on how to roleplay a criminal. So this background provides you with a long-standing contact who is of course still in contact with the crime gang you used to work with, and he will feed you information, although it could come with a downside of him putting a little bit more on your tab that you had. As a spy, you might not have prowled dark alleys and corridors. You might have been recruited by a government or church. What sort of agency did you work for and against? This is up for you to decide. Your contact may be a former handler or operator, or even an artificer who once made you a clever gear. So yeah, really handy little article. And then we've got the benefits here for being a criminal or spy. So skill proficiencies you get are deception and stealth. Very important for being a dishonest person. While a proficiency in a gaming set is a little unorthodox, it could be useful if you end up having to be able to play at a high-stakes table in order to get close to a lord and alleviate them of their ancient medallion. Finally then, before we look into our adventure, we have the Church of Kelemvor. The faithful followers of Faerun's very own Lord of the Dead have vowed to eliminate the undead wherever they might be found. So yeah. The Church of Kelemvor is, despite it being a Church of the Dead, is actually a pretty peaceful and protective place. Kelemvor himself is actually the Lord of the Dead and judges the souls in the afterlife, whether they are to be accepted into the afterlife or sent into eternal damnation. He's a just and fair entity, and his symbol is the skeletal arm holding scales. As a church, it has a rather religious sort of background to it. It has a lot of followers who are faithful to Kelemvor, priests and the like. So they all help usher in those that have died, whether in battle or just via natural causes. There are, of course, many other gods of death, such as Ogmar and Denir. It's also worth pointing out it doesn't just seek an end to malevolent undead, but all undead, as they see these as aberrations, pretty much. A couple of other gods to mention are Myrkul and Yagal. So, aided by Cold Heart Essential of Yagal, as well as another god of death, Myrkul here, who claims the souls of the dead before bringing them to Kelemvor to be judged. So, kind of like the Grim Reaper. Finally then, we got the Realm of Death. The Church of Kelemvor helps the dying prepare to cross over from the mortal realm to Kelemvor's domain. So yeah, pretty nice little bit of background there for our God of the Dead. Moving on then to this issue's encounter, we have Adventure 2 Encounter 20, and we are drafting the dead. So, balanced for second level players, you can use your generated characters or use D&D Adventurer Beyond to create your own. So, first off then, our encounter overview. The cult of Orcus, demon prince of undeath, runs rampant in an effort to expand their undead army to gain supremacy over the evil cult known as Ashmedai, and eventually all of Neverwinter. The cult of Orcus sent an agent to plant unholy censers in Neverwinter's graveyard, Neverdeath, and conduct a necromantic ritual to animate the dead. Now, dozens of skeletons and zombies prowl the cemetery, killing all living creatures they see. The priests of Kelemvor, the neutral and impartial god of death, are at capacity. They have petitioned adventurers to aid them in cleansing Neverdeath of the undead. So the encounter goals is to complete the adventure. The characters must venture into the Von Tessa mausoleum and destroy the censers within. So here we have a nice map of the mausoleum. So a rather rectangular shaped building. Plenty of crypts and tombs. And we have, of course, the unholy censers as well to be destroyed. So a star represents where a censer is. So we got the one there. So we begin the adventure by having the urgent call out. And we are sent off to Neverdeath. How to describe the approach to Neverdeath. How to roleplay Edgar Stolharth. And then we go into the mausoleum. So we've got 3 skeletons who are wandering aimlessly in the paths around the mausoleums. So we'll have to banish those. Key locations, so we've got the main entrance hall, we got the Hall of Ashes, and Von Tessa Founders. So we've also got our stat blocks to look at. So we've got an Acolyte, we got their spell, the Thaumaturgy. Then we have our enemies in the form of a skeleton and a spectre. So that's it. Let's bring everything back in and I'll give you my final thoughts on issue 20. So there we have it, issue 20 of Dungeons & Dragons Adventurer. And yeah, a pretty good issue. Some nice background pages and gaming advice pages. Some tactics as well to be thinking about. So we're learning about surprise as well as controlling the battlefield. Those are very important articles to read for working as a team and working to the best of your abilities. So we start taking a look at potions with some of the more common potions. And we learn how a DM can incorporate a little horror into their scenarios. Finally then, we learn about the Church of Kelemvor, and we are petitioned by them to take over, or rather to cleanse a graveyard which is rampant with undead. The free gift then is pretty small. It's a lovely giant D10 in the lovely little felt bag here. So yeah. As I said before, I really do love this style of dice. Looks really cool. Nice blue with the silver, really makes it pleasing on the eyes. I know we're coming to the end of blue sets, but I would love to see a full set like this. That would be my personal favourite set, I think, if we did have one. We'll be starting green dice very soon, I believe. As we are heading towards Adventure 3 and leveling up again. So you've got quite a nice lot of content. I have seen that in, I think it's issue 26, we also get a beautiful large map of the main continent of Faerun. So pretty nice. That's definitely going to look good on my gaming room wall. And yeah, hopefully we'll get some more little bonus things featured in each issue. I'll try and keep you posted on the D&D Facebook group and indeed here on YouTube if I ever learn of anything new coming out. So there we have it. Pretty good issue. I think I'll give it a 4 out of 5. Would have liked it if it's a full set of these dice, but it's just the one giant dice. But really the issue holds up this particular magazine. Nice lot of information to go over. And yeah, some rather fun little, a nice fun adventure as well. So let me know what you thought of this in the video comment section down below. A big thank you then to all my Patreon supporters again. Thank you for your continued support. And also a thank you to all my YouTube subscribers. I can't believe we've made it over 500 now, and we are still growing. So I'm really thankful for your support, and there'll be plenty more content for you all to enjoy in the near future. So that's it for me. Thank you all very much for watching, and until next time, keep rolling those crits.